Hello, and thank you for watching this regional forecast update for the Western U.S. I'm Andrew Pritchard, Senior Meteorologist with Nutrien Ag Solutions. Well, temperatures first thing on Tuesday morning, a bit colder across the interior Rockies, the higher elevations to be expected there, getting close to the single digits there across portions of central Nevada into Utah and western Colorado. A bit warmer in the periphery where I presume most of you are watching this video. 60s and 70s in southern Cal, 30s and 40s in northern California, 40s and 50s across coastal portions of Washington and Oregon, and then 50s and 60s in Montana, which is unseasonably warm for this time of year. Beneath that ridge, which you can see as we look at the infrared satellite picture, you can pick up the flow of the jet stream over the top of that ridge. Got our stubborn little cutoff across Baja California right now, and another departing storm system over the Atlantic. The radar right now is pretty quiet. We've got some rain across coastal portions of Washington, and we'll see more of that making its way down the coast as we head through the next 48 to 72 hours, pivoting toward another active phase across the Pacific Northwest, especially as we head into the weekend and next week. The hazards map from the National Weather Service this morning, we've got a wide area of dense fog advisories across the Pacific Northwest, primarily in the higher elevations there. We do have some valley fog and some freezing fog across portions of southern and western Oregon this morning. And then we've also got fire weather risks, critical fire weather values across portions of central California. We'll look at that first. Red flag warning from Shaver Lake all the way down to Frazier Park, and this is in effect until Tuesday evening. Some of the stronger winds and dry relative humidity across the region, again with that heightened fire weather risk just to the west of some of the Central Valley growing regions. And then as we go off to the north, I showed this last week, but looking at the reason for the valley fog, the freezing fog up across portions of Oregon, again, this is a thing that happens often this time of year. We get the ground here, we're cold near the ground, we've got that little layer of stratus clouds above our heads, we've got the low sun angle this time of year, so the rays are not quite so direct. The only way to erode this fog or erode the low-level clouds is to warm up the ground. We need to start to warm up the surface, and these clouds will begin to dissipate. Although, we end up with this kind of feedback, though. The lower sun angle coming in at a higher angle, a lot of that is kind of absorbed by the cloud cover there, and we don't get the warmth down to the ground. So we sometimes reinforce that imbalance by warming the layer above those clouds there, and then we've got even more warmth. So this inversion, that's that layer of warm air just above the surface, we can reinforce that at times during this time of year. So recycling this graphic just to kind of show you what's happening. Of course, if we were in the summer, we have that high sun angle right above our heads, we can kind of just eat through that cloud deck and warm us up down near the ground. Last 7 days of precipitation, it has been really dry across the west. We've seen some across the Pacific Northwest, but not nearly what would be normal for this time of year. We are going to trend back toward a more typical pattern for this time of year, bringing in some heavy coastal moisture to western portions of Washington, Oregon, and northern California, but we continue to see the big dry void here from central and southern California into the Four Corners region, of course, where we are missing the subtropical jet. Looking at the Drought Monitor, of course, that continues to be a very problematic area that we're continuing to watch. We do see relief across the northern portions of our drought-stricken area across the west. Of course, several storm systems making their way in over the next 7 to 10 days, going to be bringing more moisture into the Washington, Oregon coastline and at times down into northern California. But really, as we look deep into the end of December, even into January, I know Eric has been talking about this with La Nina, the Walker cell associated with that. I'll talk more about it here on this map. Really missing that strong flow from California. Right now we've got this little cutoff low that's spinning away in that area. That's not going to do anything to help us out. We'll get that out of here by the time we get to the weekend into early next week, and we get back into a pattern where we're flinging storm systems in to the Pacific Northwest, bringing that moisture in again across the Pacific Northwest. But in the absence of that strong subtropical jet, that we would be relying on this time of year to bring the moisture in from Hawaii, from the southwest into Southern California. Without that, it's just going to be more of the same, the dry pattern. So this is the next 5 days on the left. The 5 days that follow that, days 6 through 10, on the right, 500 millibar height anomalies. We'll get rid of the cutoff low across this region. But again, flow like this, that's going to be bringing storm systems around the periphery of the trough in the Gulf of Alaska, soaking British Columbia, at times Washington, Oregon, and Northern California, but keeping things dry here across Southern California into the Four Corners region. So verbatim from the European operational model, this will help us diagnose what's going on over the next 7 days or so. Get a little bit of moisture here as we head through the evening into the overnight across western Washington and Oregon. I know this is a very wide view. Before high pressure moves in, gives us a bit of a lull in the activity Thursday into Friday. By Friday morning, we'll see another little wave of light moisture, some light snowfall in the higher elevations. And then as we get into the weekend, this is when we'll get a bigger coastal storm to bring in some of the winds, the soaking rains as we get into Saturday and Sunday. This is midday Saturday, getting into Saturday night, getting into Sunday. This is when we'll bring some heavier moisture down into Northern California. This would be getting into Sunday right now is when the European model has that happening. This system then makes its way into the central United States. We'll see that one impact the Ohio Valley, potentially the Northeast as we get into mid next week. Before around the same time, another storm system makes its way into, again, the Pacific Northwest. So high pressure across the Pacific down toward Hawaii, where we would normally want to see that subtropical jet just blasting in. Instead, we get a storm track coming around the periphery of our Gulf of Alaska trough, soaking the Pacific Northwest, bringing heavy snow into, at times, the Cascades and the northern Sierras, the northern Rockies, but continuing to miss out across Southern California, continuing to miss out as we get into the interior Rockies, the Four Corners region. So side by side, European on the left, GFS on the right, next 10 days of precipitation. We will soak British Columbia, we'll soak the Pacific Northwest, we'll get some moisture down into Northern California. Disagreements about how much snow we're going to get into the northern Rockies here, the GFS a little bit more gung-ho. Here is your verbatim 10-day snow forecast. And then here is from the new European weeklies. We're looking all the way to the first week of January, just showing you as we continue this pattern, Pacific moisture coming in, blasting British Columbia, western portions of Washington and Oregon, where we would want to see that subtropical jet coming in this time of year, really bringing the moisture into California and the Four Corners region. We're just not seeing it at this point. Eric and I will keep looking. I know he'll keep touching on that with our long-range forecasts. We'll have another update tomorrow. If you're curious and want to get his take on that, please do watch that video midday tomorrow. But the two of us are talking daily, looking for that moisture across California, and we're just not seeing it. Again, here's another look at this. The flow as we get into next week, we get rid of the cutoff low, but again, it's just a wave train coming into the Pacific Northwest when we would really want that strong flow coming in from the southwest. Temperatures, we'll see a little bit of cool down as we get into the weekend and early next week as the cutoff low makes its way in and we get another trough sneaking in from the Pacific Northwest, but by and large keeping warmer temperatures in place across the region, at least slightly warmer than average. Here are your highs then as we head through the next several days. Your highs for the day today. Here's Thursday, Friday, Saturday. You see the little push of cooler air, but really just knocking it down to a couple of degrees warmer than average across the areas where most of you are watching these videos. Have a great day, and again, be sure to watch Eric's long-range weather analysis tomorrow. We'll have the ag update on Thursday morning, and then I'll be back to talk about the West on Friday.